do I have permission from you guys to record this meeting, quarterly board meeting for June 19th? Is that okay with you guys?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so I will record this meeting and then I post it on YouTube. So the folks who are not here will have access to the meeting. And because I know everybody's busy people, everyone's busy. So at this time, we have Dr. Carl Knight, and we have Dennis Durkee and Diane, Executive Director Diane Thompson, and myself. And Bruce Walker let me know he couldn't get on. And Scott Solomon is in Tanzania, I think, teaching. Anyway, he's way out of the country, so he's not available. But the minutes were shared by email. Do we have any corrections or recommendations for changes on the minutes?
I didn't have any. I read them over.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll just, I guess, approve the minutes as read. And for the funding, thank you, Diane, for sending me the bank statement. And, oh, okay, Bart's getting on, good. And so I was able to, welcome, Bart. I was able to update the bank account as of May 31st. So in our TCUQ account, we have $42,026.08. Hello, Bart. I see you're muted, but we're glad you're here. And we've paid for 2 ads. When I do the TCEQ report, I'll be looking for the receipts, but I'm not sure if both bills for the ads cleared. I know one cleared, but I'll double check that when I do the report. And we did spend for 5 posters. That poster I have in the back, we have 5 of them, and that came out of not the TCQ funds. BTA paid that, so I appreciate the BTA for doing the poster. TCQ posters is not an approved line item, so that's all the money that's been expended. We have money still for data, and we still have money for ads, which we use that for recruiting volunteers, which I don't think we had any response. Did we, Diane? I don't believe we had any response but
no.
It's still good to promote it because people see it. So it's still good. And the good news is that we received another check, which we have not had a check in several years from TCQ. So we received $7,200. So that was, I believe the BTA office was kind of puzzled when the letter came through and they weren't sure. And I thought, it sounds like we're going to get a check. And we did. So, so that's good news. So that means at this time for new research, we have $27,769. So we really need to get some projects going again. And I could talk to the preserve. I know Randy Yoder had talked about submitting something, but right now we could fund 2 projects. So we really need to get something going. So would you like me to email the preserve, or Diane, do you want to let them know?
What are you wanting them to know? Just that we need researchers for grants?
We received another check, so we have money for a new project.
I can reach out.
Yeah, just tell them we have, it's by the line items, but I mean, we don't have a lot of money, but we have to have something going. We don't have any activity going. So anyway, that might be the quickest way, because Andrew asked, and then we had a little bit of I didn't really know where we stood with TCQ. So since our last meeting, a lot of things have happened, which I think I can talk about it here. The TCQ report, that's where we get the majority of our funding. And the thing is, we've been, it was like 2012 when we first started with our funding. And so I was just kind of like, how long is this going to last? Or, are we reaching the end of it? And we hadn't received a check in like a couple of years. So I received information and they were renewing the contracts. So I worked with I redid everything. I submitted it to the BTA board and Diane, and I submitted it to TCQ before the deadline, and they edited it, and then I submitted it formally with their input. So that was just really, really good news, because it's like opening it up all over again. And I asked for the original amount, which was like, what, 418,000 for 30 projects, which is what we were approved for before, but we spent money, we spent it. So right now, everything is submitted. It's pending. It looks good. And then I received an email from the head of it's called SEP, Supplemental Environmental Programs. Adina Kreider is her name. And I received an email from her, and she had these questions. She wanted feedback on how did this benefit us? Did I have some photographs that she could use? And any recommendations? But it was real positive. She said she has to go to the commissioners and make a presentation. And so she wanted some information from us so she could use it. So I thought, well, that's pretty good if she's thinking highly enough of us to ask for that information. So that's where we stand. We're still, we don't have the final, but everything is, I'm feeling good about it. So I don't think we need, we definitely need to get another project going. So I will do the TCQ report that's due quarterly. It's always due a little bit after whenever our BTA meeting is, it's due after that, 2 weeks to a month after that. So I have a little bit of time, and everything's filed on SharePoint. So Diane saw that. And then you guys can also see all the reports. Oh, good. John's getting on. Welcome, John. Welcome. Glad you're here. Anyway, all the TCQ reports are filed on SharePoint, and you as members have access to SharePoint. So you can go to TOD documents and you can look at the folders and you can see everything there. There's quite a bit of information on there. So everything's there. Okay, for the science committee, we still have the leeches open, tiger beetles, and the bees. Tiger beetles is complete, but I have communicated with them. We cannot send the last check until we get receipts and data. And the thing is that Robert LaRoche is now Dr. LaRoche from his research. He he has a doctoral degree, and he's now started a fellowship. So the problem is he's left Rice University, and now he's jumped into a new job, and he's busy, but he has to get the information to us. So I did communicate with the grant person at Rice University, and she said, thank you. I said, we're happy to pay the final payment, but we can't do it until we have the data and we have the receipts. And I haven't even received the data that he shared with the Park Service. If he would just give us a copy of what he shared with them, that would be wonderful. So, but I know he's done a great work because he has several formal publications that he's sent me journal articles. So
Mary
anyway,
Catherine,
yeah,
have you requested his research work from the Park Service since he sent it to them?
I have not requested it from the Park Service because my feeling is he needs to be. We don't need to bother the Park Service.
Right. I just wondered.
But it's his responsibility to share it with us because he's already received some money from us. And this is part of the final, he can't get the final check until there's a checklist, and I've given him the checklist twice, and he knows, and we've communicated, and it's been real nice. And I shared the checklist also with the grant person at Rice University. So I just need to reach out to him again. But at this point, the grant person knows, and so I think she'll be reaching out. But my personal thing is I want to try and not bother the Park Service.
Okay, well, I just wanted to check on that, but
Yeah.
if I need to send a certified letter to him like I did that other researcher, you let me know.
That's a thought. So let me reach out one more time and hear from him, and then let's see what happens there, because he's been good to work with, and he's worked really hard, and his work is excellent. He just needs to remember we're here, and we need
Good.
it.
We got the Texas hammer over here. We need to.
And
I'm teasing.
and then we have the Leaches, who I finally got a hold of, and we sent the certified letter, and she said, oh yes, we want to keep going and we want to work, but she hasn't come through yet or scheduled anything. So we'll give her a little bit more time, but if she doesn't, she's, we'll have to. But we really don't have anybody doing anything formally anymore. The B's addendum, all he has left is a little bit mostly for transportation. So he's done his B work. He's really good. I just didn't close it out because I thought maybe he might want to use it. And he might. So anyway, we just need to get a new research going. So on education and outreach, the Butterfly Science Cafe with Nancy Denmark was fun. It was really good. I'm real proud of our science cafes. They're just very successful and enjoyable and informative. I talked last time about the Fear to Hope Symposium, and so that was a cool project that BTA worked with me, and I was able to recruit 2 schools and 2 Lions clubs, and we worked on it was a salinity project with cedar trees, and then it was really good. And then I was asked if we had a problem with ghost forests here in Southeast Texas. Dr. Atkinson asked me from Newport News, Virginia, and I said, well, I don't know. I know we have trouble with salinity, but I haven't heard of ghost forests, but I would think we might have a problem with it. And sure enough, the Big Thicket Symposium, they said we have ghost forests here in our area, and it's a big problem. And that would be a good story, because I didn't know that we had ghost forests, and it's kind of scary. So anyway, that I'm thinking more needs to be done on that. That was very impressive research that was given by I forgot his name, but he was from Colorado, a professor from Colorado. So Coons Public
Mary Catherine?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I have to ask, what is a ghost forest?
Isn't that something? And a ghost forest is, and I'm going to have to look at my notes because I don't have a good memory when it comes to numbers, but a ghost forest is where the trees are dead from saltwater intrusion. And so I assume that the ghost forests are going to be around Orange, mostly.
Yeah.
But he gave, I took notes, and I copied what you did, and I took a picture of I took a screenshot of his graph that he had that showed the crisis that the trees are in. so I'm going to write this up, but they mentioned how many acres were affected, so it's large pieces of forest that are dead from saltwater intrusion. And this has been, this is on the East Coast, it's a problem that they've been studying for a while. And Dr. Atkinson, with our little project that we did, shared literature on that. So I started learning about ghost forests. I didn't really know anything about it. And then they talked about it at the Big Thicket Symposium. So anyway, yeah, it's
Very interesting.
It is interesting.
About,
excuse me, Dennis.
The pictures he showed was along the 10-mile bayou.
10-mile bayou.
When you're on the Ivoryville, you can clearly see them to the north in Orange County. It's just the trees are all dead from saltwater intrusion in the soil, but the trees are still standing, but they have no leaves, and they're,
Well, I think that is really would be a good story, a good big story, because I didn't know about it, and it's something. But I was very impressed with the symposium. We had asked if we could help in any way, and they said no, they didn't want our help. They didn't need our help. They got their presenters, and they just did a super job, and it was just wonderful. And very informative, and I learned a lot. And one of the groups was that Gulf States Monitoring Group, and so this will tie into data management. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but it was good at the symposium. My opinion was it was good to see the big picture, because like with TOD, we work with researchers doing individual projects, and then we basically, do the taxa tally. But then the data goes to the preserve, and then it goes to their thing, and it's a bigger picture. And it was just really good to see that. And the Gulf States Monitoring Group, I was very impressed with their work. And so anyway, it was good. Okay. Any comments on the symposium? Anybody? Diane, I know you were there.
I thought they did a great job also. It was very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I made a post about it on all our social media.
Right. You're really good about doing that. So Kent's Public Library, one of my other hats is I work with kids in reading. And so we had a wonderful kickoff. And the theme has been STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And so we've been having a lot of nature themed science related activities. And we did have an TOD exhibit and David Lewis posters, and we had bird nest engineering from the Sabine Natchez Master Naturalists, and we had Texas Parks and Wildlife, Skins and Skulls, and Park Services next week. And so it's just been great, a lot of fun. Okay, publicity, the bulletin again, thank Phoebe, she does a fantastic job. So we're getting publicity. Okay, so we had a grant. So before Diane got on board, we had, and the TOD kind of shuffled. It used to be that the TOD funded BTA office and executive director salaries in the early days. And so we reshuffled the TOD and the FRS up to 2020. We had a little over $402,000 is what was brought in grants up to 2020. And Maxine did the early grant. Maxine Johnston, probably at least half that amount came from Maxine. And then I helped with a lot of them, but I hadn't done any TOD grants since 2020. And so we've been talking for several meetings about the science conference. And I know it's a need for these researchers, especially the ones that are in universities to get published. It's important for them to get published. I know I hear this from my son because he's frustrated because he can't get published because his work is secret. So he can't publish it. So anyway, so I hear about this a lot. And anyway, so I thought I had I mailed copies of the books that were published at the Southeastern Naturalist past science conferences to Entergy, and I had asked if they would be interested in a project like this in the future. And so I received an email requesting submission of an environmental grant. So I thought, oh, great. So then I reached out to Diane, and Diane received the email too for an environmental grant. So I was gonna just not submit. And then Diane called Karen Doe at Entergy, and Karen said that we could both submit. So I'm basically competing with Diane. That's one way to look at it. Or the other way to look at it is we've got two chances of getting a grant. And the grants are very competitive. There are maybe only 5 awarded in the state. So,
Oh, that's
yeah.
terrible. And
Yeah,
I didn't get funded from them last year.
yeah. It's very competitive. I can email you the awards for last year. But anyway, the one thing that I also look at for if we do not get funded for the science conference, at least we have the grant wording. So if somebody else if there may be another source, 90% of the work is done for a proposal. So if this one doesn't go through, maybe somewhere else would. So anyway, it's all submitted on both ends. Diane submitted hers, and then I submitted as well. And so I requested, it was 18,000, I believe, 18,000 something for the science conference. And it's basically publication. It would be online on the Bio1 database for scientific literature, and then there would be some hard copies. Okay, so, and it would be a special anniversary edition of the 50th for the preserve and the 60th for BTA, which that would be pretty cool. And we have another science cafe coming up on August 5th with Doug Huggins, who is with Texas Parks and Wildlife Law Enforcement. He's a major. And so this should be an interesting angle because we have to have law enforcement to protect our critical resources, unfortunately. So it will be good to hear from him. Thank you, Diane, for scheduling that. And I assume
You're welcome.
I assume you have a log on schedule.
Oh, yes. Now, he's personal friends with the owner of the Log On, and he's who had suggested him about a year ago, probably. I will tell you, I wanted him to share law enforcement stories because I know he has some good ones, but he can't talk about that.
Okay.
So he's talking about state parks and the endangered species in the state parks.
Okay, thank you for that angle.
Sure.
And I'll write up something, but of course I'll send it to you.
That'd be great. You're really good at it. Thank you.
I'll send it to you before, but I'm glad you told me that, so I won't do law enforcement. Which when I read it, I thought law enforcement. So, but his bio is a good one. Okay, so John, I want to thank you for helping with the website. And I sent a number of, I've been trying really hard to get Jeff Pittman to help, and he didn't help. So John made changes, and that's good. And there's still more, but the problem is I have to figure out how to do the references. So sometimes I can copy the citation. If I pull the journal up, and it will give you different formats, and I can just copy the citation, but that's kind of where I'm stuck. I have some articles, and I may not.
Are they online? I mean,
Yeah,
is there like an internet? Is there an internet link that you can send?
Well, I just have to. I have to sit down, and I've got a handful, and I have to sit down on each one and go and open it, and then see the link, and then see if there's a citation, and get that. So it's on my to-do list, but I sent you the easy ones. The ones I have left are a little more complicated, and
well, why don't you just you get one or two there and just send them in. We can look at it and maybe work on it together and try to figure out how to get it done.
Okay, and it's also kind of an open-ended problem, and I've mentioned this to other members, that if they look at the TOD website and under researchers at the top on publications, look at the publications that are there. And if they want to Google search any of those researchers and see if we have any papers that are missing, that's always good, because a lot of times these researchers go on and they do more work. They're not funded by us anymore, but they're still working and they're still publishing, and it's still related to what we're doing. Right. And it's exciting, but it's tedious going back and finding this. But
well, I mean,
it's important.
Anything like that can be found, we'll certainly add it to it. But I wouldn't expend just an undue amount of energy in getting stuff that's not directly related to what we did. I mean, it's okay to do it, certainly, but I mean, I wouldn't kill yourself doing that.
If it's our researcher, and it's, and they're publishing something that's related to Big Thicket.
If it's related to Big Thicket, that's certainly.
Yeah, that's related. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, so that's it's a work in progress. But thank you, John, because I feel good now. Now I know you'll help me, because I was having trouble with Jeff.
Of course. I mean, he's hard to reach, but I'm pretty easy to get hold of.
So let me ask you, John, do you want me to keep you on the TOD email list? Or I took you off when you weren't executive director, but I'll put you back on.
Yeah, that way I know what. I usually get your meeting notices anyway, but you go ahead and put me on there. I'll be happy.
Okay, I think I'd taken you off, but I'll love to put you back on.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
So I had a question: if we could find an old PC, because the access data, the access program is old, and anybody that has access right now is going to have a new version, and the old data that Dale has worked with, I thought if we had a laptop with the old access, that might be a way to get to some of those old files.
Well, let's get with Dale, see if we can figure something out, because we may have a way to do that.
Yeah. And then when we went to the symposium and I listened to that Gulf States monitoring, so one of the things that they've done a lot of work on is vascular plants. And that vascular plants is one of our data files that is really bugging me because we have, not all of you have access to it, but Dale made Google Sheets. So for each group that's on that taxa tally, there's a listing of the species, the scientific name of what species. So my goal is for all the research that we've done is to be able to look at the species that have been found. And so it's been years of effort trying to go through old files to get this. And I have the majority of it done, but the two groups I have not been able to do are vascular plants and macrofungi because the files are so big. There's so many. And so like for me, I have to go and I have to do it manually. I don't know how to do a formula to take out the duplicates. So I alphabetize and delete manually to come up with my list. But
Yeah,
my thought,
we can, if we get a list like that, I can probably do that pretty quickly if you send me
well,
the file.
that's where if we had the laptop with the access, we could get to the list.
Well,
Now,
okay.
vascular plants is, if you look at the publications, Dr. Larry Brown, I don't know, he did 8 to 10 studies of the plants in the different units. But when he originally turned in his data, he was not digital. He turned it in paper. So
Yeah.
Mona had to do some work there. So that's another problem with the vascular plants. So when I listen to the Gulf States monitoring, so what they do is they have the data, the vascular plant data from us. They have that, but they have also collected their own data. So would you think there would be a problem if we took their updated vascular plant list and used that?
Well, if you get permission from them to do it, I wouldn't see a problem, but you'd have to get permission some way, I think, to do that.
Of course.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I
that
don't
would
think it's-
clean up our vascular plants and it would make it current.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not copyrighted, but I mean, as long as it's attributed to them, I think that would, or some way we could give them
Right.
credit for supporting it.
Right. So I'll explore that, but that would, if we were able to do that, to use their vascular plant list, that would clean up that big one. And then we wouldn't have to worry about going back and analyzing that. All we'd have left to do would be the macrofungi.
Yeah.
And David Lewis is easier to work with. He would be easier to work with, I believe.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a thought. I was real excited to learn about them. So the FRS, I'm sorry, I have not been there. Maybe I can go tomorrow, Diane, to check it out. We have Texas A&M, College Station, Fish, and American Youth Works. And I think that's all right now, right, that are coming?
Yes, that Youth Works group is coming several different trips. But I think that's all we have for now. And so our first person's coming the 27th, the Youth Works group.
Okay, so that.
So yeah, since no one has stayed there in a long time, and the last time I was there was on our big Thicket bus tour.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you have time, that'd be great. If you
I'll
could just
try.
look it over and see, make sure everything's good because it has been vacant a long time.
Sometimes
Right.
it's just a matter of just getting a broom and sweeping up a few bugs,
Yeah.
but I mean that. What about the Brammer House? Marty from the preserve stayed there temporarily. Did that get cleaned afterwards?
No, what happened was they had a tree down that was blocking, after all the storms we had a while back, there was a tree blocking the house the interns stay in. And they were dealing with so many down trees that they hadn't gotten to that yet. And so they wanted to know if the interns could stay at the Bramer house. So of course we said yes. And I think John probably put that on there. Is that right, John?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So, but then they ended up like almost the same day or the next day, they said, never mind, we got the tree up, we're good.
Okay, so we don't have to clean that one then.
No,
Okay.
but as always, will you please check that back door every
Okay.
time? Well, I'm sorry, the last time I went, it was locked, which was amazing. That's the first time I've ever gone there that the back door was not unlocked.
Okay, okay, and that's the Brammer house. So
Yes, yes.
I'll try and go tomorrow. I'll try.
Okay, just let me know what you see, please.
Yeah, my husband plays
you.
golf, so if it's raining, then I might have a problem.
Uh,
I can.
Well, take him with you.
Yeah, I can do.
Also,
things
I met
one
a
place.
lady. She works for Entergy, and she lives almost like right by the. She said she's 3 minutes from the FRS, and so when people call me and go, "There's the housekeeper that we have now, the second one." She was there cleaning, and she was carrying her things out to the car, and there was somebody very sketchy looking, looked like she said a homeless person, maybe drugged. Anyway, they were on the property, and she was too scared to stay there. So she had to just lock it and leave, and she left her cup in there at that point because she didn't want to keep going in and out. But anyway, now
I got that. I picked that up.
Yeah. So, okay, good. But what I'm saying is now I met this lady from Entergy that lives right by there. And she said that anytime, she wants me to drive by or look at it, where she'd be happy to do that. So we have someone like right there.
Okay.
If I have another report or something like that, she'll drive by and look at it.
Okay.
Not inside. I'm just talking about outside.
Yeah, that's always good. So on new business, the TCQ and on the FRS cleaning, I'll let you know, of course, if anything needs to be done. New business, I already spoke about the TCQ, and I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed that all is good on that. So we're just pending, and I still have the permit and review on there. That's on the to-do list. I'm not able to get to it just yet, but we need to. Everything right now, I think, is okay. We just haven't had a new project in a while. But so I just have it there. Okay, that's all I have. Do I have any questions or any input from anybody?
I have a couple of questions.
Okay, Carl.
Our whole school system up here has changed. Instead of it being Eastfield College, now it's Dallas College. So we're involved in all that. And Jessica Silva had worked with us in the projects and does undergraduate research work. And she's going to be in charge of doing undergraduate research work with NSF. And so there's a lot of money. And so we can do the same type of project, I think, that we did years ago. And that turned out to be super. And so I have a meeting with my dean tomorrow, Monday. And but there's been some turmoil up at the administrative levels and stuff like that. So also, I went to the DLIA meetings, and they were good.
Yes. Let's say what DLIA is, Carl. They don't know what DLIA is.
Discover Life in America. And they have the Great Smokies. And this is what started TOD years ago.
Yes, and the DLIA was the big group that the National Park had. And right. we modeled DLIA. So go ahead, Carl.
Well, but the thing that we've got going for us is we can get a lot of money out of NSF. And so we can use that money. And if I can get with them and have a meeting with us and talk about what we can do with the students. And so what they have to do is they're going to help these researchers, whoever they may be. And so we might be able to get grants for the researchers in addition to what we have. And but if we just sit down and get a plan going, then Jessica is pretty powerful right now, and so she can get that. And we have the scanning electron microscopes and all that other stuff. And so, and we can contact people and get these projects going if we can set up a system to combine the NSF. And that was the whole purpose of that meeting, of that program that we had, was to have the Park Service, there's colleges, and everybody involved in the same thing to help these kids go into science.
Mhm.
So I will get in touch with her tomorrow and see what we can do to have the meeting. They're sort of in a little turmoil right now because of the way the system's set up. But I think that's going to end, and so we should be in good shape. And if we had a proposal to them, and I think NSF would help us a lot. And so we can combine everything, and everybody benefits when you all work together.
So Carl, we had a participant, he hasn't been on in a while, but his name was David Ford. And he was the son, he did muscle research with his dad. His dad had 2 muscle projects. And David Ford now works for a private environmental company in Houston. And, you know, he might be a good one that Jessica's students could work with if we figured out.
If we can find these researchers, then and we decide what projects we wanted to do, then we could get the students in. We're not talking about a lot of students, but
well, David Ford might be a researcher that could that would work with us.
Well, let me talk with Jessica and see, maybe we all consider I'll get in touch with you later and see if we can sit down and get a common goal for all of us, so everybody's successful.
Yeah, I'm happy to Zoom with you, Carl, anytime.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody? I think we're about. We didn't have anything.
I want to thank you for all your hard work and keeping TOD on the road.
Yeah, and, well, it takes everybody.
Yeah, you all do a great job. So
well, we're hanging in there, so I'm glad about that. So okay, that's all I have. We didn't have to vote on anything, I don't believe. And I'll type these minutes up and get them to you, Diane.
Thank you, Mary Catherine, for everything.
And I'm just using the minutes as a report because I don't have time to do another report.
I think that's plenty enough.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mary Catherine.
All right. Okay.
Nice seeing you, John.
Okay, thank Carl.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So this is it. We adjourn at what? 4:43.
There you go.
I don't know if that's how I'm supposed to close it, but that's how I'm closing it.
That's good.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye, Carl.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hang in there.
We're trying.
Okay.